Dirt.
Okay, hey, Ket.
Dirt, yeah.
Rabbi Akiva said to them, "Do you not agree with me regarding one who places Eruvin in a cave, that he has no more than 2,000 amas?" They answered him, when is this so? Only when there are no inhabitants in it. But if he had inhabitants in it, he may traverse the entirety and beyond it for 2,000 amas. Thus he follows the interior is more lenient than its roof. And concerning the surveyor about whom they said we give him 2,000 amas, even if his measurement ended in the middle of a cave, it is so. One who lives together with a Gentile in a single courtyard, or the one who does not accept the laws of Erev, that person places a restriction upon him. These are the words of Reb Meir. If Eliezer ben Yaakov says he never restricts unless there are two Jews restricting each other. Rabbi Gamil said, it once happened that a Saduci lived with us in an alley in Yerushalayim, and his father told us, hurry and carry out all your utensils into the alley before he carries out and restricts you. Rabbi Yehuda related this in different terms. Hurry and attend to your needs in the alley before it passes and he restricts you. Okay.
Okay. Now into the actual halacha that probably should have been an earlier halacha over here. Anshe chatzer sheshachach echad mehen v'lo erev. Okay, so you got let's say three people in the chatzer, and three people with houses and a share and one shared chatzer, and the one person forgot to join the Erev Chatzeros. They asked him, can you want to give us some food to put in there? I mean, really, what you could do in practical terms, in the way people do it nowadays, is that if you have a chatzer, you can be mazakeh people. You can give them food without their knowledge. And it's because it's a pure benefit to them. There's no loss to anyone who to be part of an Erev Chatzeros. Okay. But we're talking about a hypothetical case where the neighbors are makpid on each other, and they say, listen, if you want to be part of part of the area, you must contribute some food. And one guy forgot to contribute the food, so now he hasn't joined in the joint thing of the area. And if you left everything as it is, uh, he restricts um, he restricts everyone from carrying from their house into the Chatzar because he's not part of the Eruv. Okay, so what does he do? Beiso asur mi lahachnis u'milahotzi lo velahim. Uh, oh, sorry, but what he does is after is hang on, is this the Beis Shammai? He but instead of joining in the Eruv, what he says is, you know what? I'm mavater on my rights in the Chatzar.
Okay.
You guys can have the rights of the Chatzar for the Shabbos. Okay, so that's great. So now what happens is Beisor Asur milahachnis milahotzi lo velahim. So everyone's got the same rule. Nobody can carry from the Chatzar into his house or vice versa, because they're now considered two separate rishiyos. V'shelahem mutarim lo velahim. But the other two houses, the ones who did make the Eruv, they're allowed to carry from their houses into the Chatzar and vice versa. And not a, but and also the guy who forgot to join, he's got the same din. He's allowed to carry from their houses into the Chatzar. It's not a personal thing. It's a property thing. So the din falls on the property, not on the person.
Okay.
Okay. Shelahem mutarin lo v'lahem. Nasnu lo reshusan. Now, what happens if they did it the reverse way? If the two guys who did make the Eruv decided, you know what, we're going to be bavater on our rights in the Chatzer. So now the Chatzer is now exclusively the property of the one guy who didn't make the Eruv. And therefore, given that it's now his exclusive property, who mutar v'hein asurin. So his property, he's now allowed to carry from his house into the Chatzer, and they're not. Okay, you following this?
Right. Okay. I got it.
Looking at
Okay.
who's got the rights in the property. Hayushnaim. Now, what happens if two people forgot to join in the Eruv? Now you can't just be mavater on your rights, because now you've still got the same problem that you've got a shared chatzer, which is a different property right than one person's property. Because if it's just his property, then it's one rishos hayachid. But if it's two people with joint property, that's why you need an eruv. Okay, Austrian zelze. So they're a problem for each other. She'echad nosen rishos v'notil rishos. So one person can give up his rights, and one person can receive exclusive rights. But shnayim, excuse me, shnayim nosnim rishos Ve'ein notlin rishus, but two people can give up their rights, but they cannot jointly take them because that's now already it's a different category of property once you've got two people sharing in the chatzer. Okay.
Okay.
Me'ema say notlin rishus. Now, at what point are you allowed to be mevater in your rishus in that shared chatzer? Beis Shammai omrim mi be'od yom. You can only do it before Shabbos comes in, says Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel omrim mi shecha. No, you can even give up your rights on Shabbos when you just realized, oops, I forgot to join in the Eruv. Okay. Mi shenasan reshusa v'hotzi. Now, what happens if somebody gave away his reshus in the chatzer, and
Right.
then he took stuff out from his property into the chatzer before anyone else took advantage of it? Okay. Bain b'shogeg, bain b'mezid, hareze oser divrei Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir says it doesn't matter whether he did it by mistake, whether he did it deliberately to assert his rights. His waiving of his rights in the chatzar is now null and void because he has now asserted that he does have property rights to carry between his house and the chatzar, and therefore his original statement is proved retroactively to have been meaningless. Okay, Rabbi
But
Yehuda. Huh?
the halakha is not like Beis Hillel carrying at the door.
The halacha is like Rabbi Hillel, no? Why not?
Um, I thought once Shabbos started, that was it. You're saying when it is dark.
Rabbi Hillel is saying that even on Shabbos you can be mevater on your property
Yeah.
right.
Right.
You're not doing any malacha. You're not. I mean, obviously I'm not going to get my head in between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. We just paskin like Beis Hillel as a general rule, unless we
Okay.
we have a specific reason to paskin like Beis Shammai rather.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay, so back to Rabbi Yehuda now. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, b'mezid oser, b'shogeg eno oser. Is it only if he deliberately goes out and asserts his property right? But if he forgot, never he just like walked out with something in his pocket and didn't realize, that's not going to uproot what he originally said. And as is usual in the machlokes Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir, halacha follows Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, Mishnah Hey. Bal habayis shehaya shutaf l'shchenim. Okay, so now, what we've got over here is shituf mavos. The general rule with so that there's the difference between a mavoy. A mavoy is like an alley,
Right.
which is basically public property, but it's not a rishus harabim because it's blocked off. It's like a cul-de-sac that goes in between a bunch of houses. That is a mavoy. Okay, and if you want to do it, it's similar to an area of chatzeros. It's just on a sort of a bigger scale, and the rules are slightly different. That for sheet of mavos, you could use it on anything edible. You could do it on wine. You could do it on oil or whatever. But when you've got a chatzer, that's a private property. A chatzer is by definition a rishus yachid, which is shared by multiple people, and the area of chatzeros must be done with bread. Okay, so we are in Mishnah Hay talking about a sheet of mavos. So we've got a mavoy and multiple people living around the mavoy, and there's the balabais actually he's a storekeeper basically, and he's got partners in his business,
Okay.
and his partners happen to be his neighbors. Okay, so he's a wine dealer, let's say, or he's got a general store. And his partners who are his neighbors have a share in his wine. Lazeh b'yayin v'lazeh b'yayin. So they all have a share in the wine. Einam tzrichim la'arev. Okay, that's done. They don't need to make a special erev chatzeros for the shared property between them because they've already got one. They already have a share in his business in the wine.
Right.
And that
Okay.
wine food, and they could all come to him and say, "Okay, let's have some wine." Great, and that's valid. Lazeh b'yayin v'lazeh b'shemen. But what happens if he's a partner with one of his neighbors with wine and a partner with another of his neighbors with oil? Okay, so that he's a partner with them, but they're not sharing in exactly the material, in exactly the merchandise that he that wanting to rely on for an Eruv. Tzrichim la'arev. So Tanakama says you got to make a single Eruv that is available for all the neighbors. Right? You can't have a piecemeal Eruv that's for this one in oil and for this one in wine, etc. Okay, Rabbi Shimon disagrees though. He says, "Echad zeh ve'echad zeh einam tzrichim la'arev." He says it's fine as long you can have a piecemeal Eruv, as long as everyone is included in the Eruv in some form or another. It's valid. And actually, let's see what. Yeah, the halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon; it follows the Tanakama.
Okay. All right.
All
Good.
right,
Okay.
back to Gimel Ches.
Additionally, Rabbi Yehuda said a person may stipulate a condition concerning a basket on the first day of Yom Tov and eat it on the second. And so also an egg laid on the first day may be eaten on the second, but the Kakama did not agree with him. Rav Dosa ben Harkin says, he who leads the prayers on Yom Tov or Rosh Hashanah says, fortify us, O Hashem, O God, on this Rosh Chodesh, whether it is today or whether it will be tomorrow. And on the morrow, he says, whether it is today or whether it was yesterday. The sages did not agree with him. Okay. One who was taken out by Gentiles or by an evil spirit has only 4 amos. If he brought him back, it was if he never left. If they took him to another town, or if they put him in a fold or in a corral, Reb Gamil and Reb Eliezer ben Azariah say he may traverse its entirety. Reb Yeshua and Reb Akiva say he has only 4 amos. It happened when they arrived from Prandisin and the ship went out to sea. Reb Gamil and Reb Eliezer ben Azariah traversed its entirety. Reb Yeshua and Reb Akiva did not move out of 4 amos because they wished to be strict with themselves.
Okay.
One.
That,
Okay.
I think
That
that's
was
it.
it.
I believe that's it. Wait, no, I'm wrong. I'm
One
wrong.
more. One more, right?
One more. Oh wait, no, it is up to 4-1. No, that's it. That's the last one of our set of three there. Okay,
Okay.
next.
Shabbos.
Yeah, Shabbos Yud Beis Gimel.
One who writes 2 letters, whether with his right hand or left, whether one character or two characters, whether with 2 inks or in any language, he's liable. But Yossi says they declared writing 2 letters only because they are marking, for thus would they write on the boards of the Mishkan to know which were mates. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi said we find the short name which is part of a long name. Shem from Shimon, Shmuel from Noach, or Shmuel, Noah from Hakor, and Dan from Daniel, and Gad from Gadil. One who writes 2 letters in one period of forgetfulness is liable, whether he wrote with ink, with orpiment, with vermilion, with gum, with phosphorus sulfate, or with anything that makes marks on 2 walls forming a corner, or on 2 pages of a ledger that can be read together, he's liable. One who writes on his skin is liable, and one who scratches on his skin, Eliezer holds him liable for a sin offering, but Rabbi Shua exempts him. If one wrote with liquids, with fruit juices, and road dust or scribe's dust, or anything that does not endure, he's exempt. If one wrote with the lack of his hand, with his foot, with his mouth, or with his elbow, if one wrote one letter alongside a written letter, if one wrote over another writing, if one intended to write a chet, but instead wrote 2 zions, if one wrote one letter on the ground and one letter on the beam, or if one wrote 2 on 2 walls of the house or on 2 pages of a ledger that cannot be read together, he's exempt. If one wrote one letter as an abbreviation, Rabbi Yeshua ben Rasera sells him liable, but the comment exempt him.
Okay.
And we have, okay, base solid. If one separated tumor from produce before the conclusion of work on it, Reb Elliot forbids it to eat of it a chance meal, but could come and permit except from a large basket of figs. If one separated tumor from a large basket of figs, Reb Shimon permits, but the Chacham forbid. If one says to his fellow, here is this Isser, give it to me for 5 figs, he may not eat before tithing them. So says Reb Meir. But Reb Yehuda says if he eats only one by one, he's exempt. But if together, he's liable. And Yehuda said, it once happened in a rose garden in Yerushalayim that 3 or 4 figs were being sold for an Isser, and Truma and Meiser were never separated from it. If one says to his fellow, here is an Isser for 10 figs, which I shall select, he may select and eat them. For a cluster of grapes that I shall select, he may eat the grapes and eat them. For a pomegranate that I shall elect, he may pick the seeds and eat them. For a melon that I shall select, he may cut slices and eat. But if he said to him, for these 20 figs, for these 2 clusters of grapes, for these 2 pomegranates, for these 2 melons, he may eat them in his usual manner and is exempt because he bought them while they were still attached to the ground.
Okay.
Yes.
Next.
Migos. Okay, Migos. And we have test Gimel. The following items do not intervene: entangled hair of the head, an armpit, or a man's private parts. From Eliot says both man and woman are the same in that anything which one finds disturbing does not intervene, and anything which does not find disturbing does not intervene. Room in the eye and encrusted on a wound. Encrusted on a wound. Wet sap, smears of wet dirt on one's body, dirt under the nails, a dangling nail. A child's downy hair either admits tumor nor transmits tumor. However, skin on a wound admits tumor and transmits tumor. The following cases are an intervention regarding utensils: pitch or musk on glassware, whether on the inside or the outside, when found on a table, on a tray, or on a cot. If they are otherwise clean, it does not intervene, but if they are otherwise soiled, it does not intervene. On the beds of a household where it does not intervene, but on those of a poor servant, it does not intervene. On the backside of a householder, it does not intervene, but on those waters can carry, it does not intervene. On a saddlecloth, it does intervene. It does intervene. Reb Shimon Gamliel says only if the soil is at least the size of an Italian issa. Okay, good. And we are on to Kulin. Okay. Head, hey, okay, head base. A person may wrap meat and cheese in one cloth as long as they do not come in contact with each other. Shimon Gamliel says two travelers may eat at the same table, this one meat and this one cheese, without apprehension. If a drop of milk fell upon a piece of meat, the drop of milk fell upon a piece of meat and there is enough in it to impart a flavor to that piece, is prohibited. If you stirred the pot, if there was enough in it to impart a flavor to that pot, it is prohibited. As for the others, he must cut them open and extract their milk. But if he does not cut them open, he does not transgress the negative commandment through them. As for the heart, he must cut it open and extract its blood. And if he did not cut it open, he does not commit a transgression through it. If one brings a fowl with cheese on the table, he does not transgress a negative commandment. The meat of a kosher animal with the milk of a kosher animal is forbidden to cook and is forbidden to benefit. The meat of a kosher animal, the milk of a non-kosher animal, the meat of a non-kosher animal, the milk of a kosher animal is permitted to cook and is permitted for benefit. Rabbi Akiva says, beast and fowl are not prohibited by the Torah. You shall not cook a kid in as well as milk, as stated 3 times. This includes beasts, fowl, and non-kosher animals. Rabbi Yossi Agili says, you shall not eat any nevela, and it says you shall not cook a kid in its milk. And what is forbidden because of the nevela is forbidden to cook with milk. With milk. Fowl, which is forbidden because of the nevela, one would think that it may not be cooked with milk. Therefore, Scripture says in its mother's milk, and this excludes fowl that has no mother's milk. In the
Okay.
first mission that we
Done.
did,
Done.
in
Done.
the first mission that we did, it says
Oh
if
yeah.
you start, if a drop of milk, no, um, of the hair, a person may wrap meat and cheese in one cloth as long as they do not come in contact with each other.
Yes.
But Shimon Gamliel says two travelers may eat at the same table, this one meat and this one cheese. I thought we were supposed to have a separation. It doesn't make anything about it.
Well, that's actually the chiddush, is that if they're travelers and they don't know each other, then they're allowed to sit at the same table and eat because nobody's going to tip into the other one's food. That's like a bit awkward. But
All right.
if it's a family or two people who are friends or whatever who's sitting opposite each other, there's a chance that they're going to forget themselves and sample each other's food while they're busy eating. And
Grab those French fries, right?
that's why, right?
All right, Dalit Aleph. A betrothed woman and a woman awaiting Yibum neither drink nor do they receive payment for their marriage contract. As it is said, when a woman strays from under the authority of her husband to the exclusion of a betrothed woman, and a woman awaiting a woman widow married to a Kohen Gadol, or divorcee, or a woman who received Chalitza married to an ordained Kohen, Mamzeres or Nisonite married to an Israelite, and an Israelite daughter married to a Mamzer or Nisonite, these neither drink nor receive payment for their marriage contract. The following women also neither drink nor receive payment for their marriage contract. One who says, I'm defiled, and one who about whom witnesses testify she is defiled, and one says, I will not drink, but one who says, I will not give her a drink, and whose husband says, cohabitated with her on the way, receives payment for a marriage contract, but does not drink. If their husbands die before they were able to drink, but Shammai says they receive payment for their marriage contract, but do not drink, but Beis Hillel says they neither drink nor receive payment for their marriage contract. A woman pregnant by a previous husband and a woman nursing a child by a previous husband neither drink nor receive payment for the marriage contract. These are the words of Rav Meir. But the comments say, he can separate from her and take her back after a period of time. A sterile woman or an old woman or a woman who not bear children neither drink nor receive payment for the marriage contract. Rav Eliezer says he can marry another woman and be fruitful and multiply from her. and all women either drink or they do not receive payment for their marriage contract. Okay,
Okay, and
good.
we're
Thank you. Have a terrific day.
cheers.
Enjoy.
Good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.